all the teams, all the time. It's Pro Football Wire's nightly recap with John Lund. Make sure you follow us on social media at PFB Wire and subscribe. Like and turn on your alerts on YouTube at Pro Football Wire. Now with the latest news around the NFL, here's Johnny.
Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday edition of the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Much appreciated as we hang out on a Tuesday night here at PFB Wire, Pro Football Wire. John Lund with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday. As you can see right now, there is the new board on the right there, and we hope you enjoyed the three big stories today. Monday Night Football reactions. I know we did Monday Night Football last night, but we've got more reactions that we've got to give you as well. There we are. We've got to give you more Monday night reactions, so we will do that for you as well. Who's on the hot seat? We do that every single Tuesday, Hot Seat Tuesday. So we'll do that. The deadline is 3 weeks away. That is November 4th, and I have one team in particular that could solve some woes for another team, and we'll talk about all the deadline up until then. So we got 3 weeks to talk about the deadline. I will specifically look at two teams tonight. Mel Kiper Jr.'s first big board is out. You can never talk about the draft too early, so we'll talk about that as well. Tuesdays, we always do You Bet as well. I got three futures for you that I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about Wednesday's PFB Wire. Thank you so much. John Lund with you. 30 years in the media, many years covering the NFL, most recently in San Francisco for about the last 15 years, and about the last 12 as the pre-half and post-game show host for the 49ers. But I also did pre and post for the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys and Oakland Raiders. And so very versed in the NFL, and I love making this channel about the NFL. So make sure that you are following us, please, at PFB Wire on YouTube, as you can see at the bottom. All of those social media places you can get us at PFB Wire as well. That's X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those places you can check us out as well. So make sure at PFB Wire, it's Pro Football Wire, and at PFB Wire on YouTube, and where you get all of your social media. So make sure that you're following us. Maybe tonight you're watching us on X at John Lund Radio. That is great. Much appreciated. If you would just flip over for just a moment, and I'll wait for you, to PFB Wire and make sure that you're following us over there as well. Not only do we do the nightly shows, but also breaking NFL news, videos, fun stuff, trades, which are going to be happening, all those kind of things we're posting all day long. So make sure also you have your alerts on at YouTube, because then you won't miss anything. Or again, just hit us up as well on social media, and then you won't miss anything. Pro Football Wire at PFB Wire, all the teams, all the time. All right, the big three stories today, and we always have fun videos and such for you. And I guess I'll lead off with this, because everybody is all hot on the Kansas City Chiefs. They got off to the slow start, obviously. And anytime you have Patrick Mahomes and you have that kind of defense, you're not going to count out the Chiefs. I told you that last week, even when they lost to Jacksonville. And, of course, everybody's back on the bandwagon, and I'll show you about what the MVP odds say about Patrick Mahomes. As I told you, yeah, I would vote for Baker Mayfield. I get it about Josh Allen, but now they've lost two in a row, and we'll talk about that in MM&F Monday Night Football reactions in just a second. But maybe the big story today in the NFL, Rashee Rice, despite the fact, and he went to SMU, he's from Dallas. I'm sure you've seen the video, just horrendous, racing on a highway in Dallas, and then kind of just walks away like nothing happened, and he only gets 6 games. I'll never understand it. Tom Brady has deflated balls and gets that many games. There is a judge, jury, and executioner. His name's Roger Goodell, and there's no rhyme or reason for what he does. But I'm not a hater on the Chiefs. If Rashee Rice deserved more or less games, I'd tell you that. I'm not a bullshitter. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. I'm just simply telling you that what Rashee Rice did for 6 games and what other players have gone for a year, Josh Gordon with weed and all these different things, it just doesn't add up. But that's Roger Goodell. That is, if you're a conspiracy theorist, certain teams. Patrick Mahomes needs himself a wide receiver, and it's good for the NFL. If the Chiefs are good, it's good for the NFL if Patrick Mahomes is good. So, yeah, call me a conspiracy theorist. I think Rashee Rice should have been out for the entire season. He put that many people in danger with that incident and with that act, and yet he's back after 6 games. And I've told you through this whole process, I still think that the Chiefs are going to go out and get more offensive performers because defensively they're going to be fine. Offensively, Patrick Mahomes needs a little bit more. Travis Kelce is in decline. Yeah, he's got some speed in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy and guys like that, but he still doesn't have that reliable guy. Rashee Rice is a little bit more like that. There's no question. It's not like he's a burner. He's more of a third down guy. He's going to move the chains, but I still think they're going to try to go out and get somebody else as well in a veteran capacity, kind of like they did last year in DeAndre Hopkins. So we shall see. But big story, Rashee Rice is back after a 6-game suspension. Here's Andy Reid on 810 WHB in Kansas City talking about the return of Rashee Rice after his 6-week suspension.
Working like crazy. We can't, the rule states that we can't work with him, but I know he's been, as coaches, and, but I know he's been working out hard. And I think it's just a matter of getting him back in the swing. I'm not going to tell you, I've got to see it to kind of work through it, but I know he's in good shape. That's the one thing I do know. And I think that'll be important, him coming back in there and getting with Patrick and kind of getting on the same page as, and that whole deal. But we'll just see how all that works out. We haven't put the game plan in yet, so we're working through all that now.
I always think it's funny because they got to be really careful. And you heard Andy Reid and you saw Andy Reid there kind of just tiptoeing around the whole thing. Look, I was told by Bill Parcells many years ago that they know exactly what's going on all the time with all the players. All right. They know what Rashee Rice has been doing. They know where he is. They know where he's working out. They're sending people there. What's legal, what's not. All I know is they know what's going on with Rashee Rice in his life. And especially after an incident like this, they got to keep him in line as much as they possibly can because, like I said, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have the reliable targets that he's had in the past. And for Kansas City to fulfill what Kansas City always wants to do, or it's a disappointing season, which is go to and win a Super Bowl, and everything else is an underachievement. It's just getting to a Super Bowl is not enough for Kansas City. They want to win it. And for them to do that, Mahomes needs more guys. Now, would Rashee Rice be a number one receiver on a lot of teams? No, but Patrick Mahomes makes you that much better. And Rashee Rice is what they don't have. He's reliable. Worthy's fast. Hollywood Brown's fast. But Rashee Rice gives him a little bit more size. Knows the offense. He's going to be starting. He's going to be playing, and he's going to be a factor against the Raiders coming up this weekend. That's the bottom line. And the Chiefs know exactly what they're getting with Rashee Rice. So a team that was kind of down for a minute, but I never believed it. And then all of a sudden they go back last week and they win a huge game against the Detroit Lions, and now they get Rashee Rice back after 6 games. That's one of the bigger stories of the day. Another big story, speaking of the Raiders, because that's who the Chiefs have this weekend, Brock Bowers. And I put this out last week, and I was kind of just joking about Brock Bowers and his first year to second year kind of things. Maybe I didn't post this. Let me see if I can grab it really, really quickly. But essentially, look, I like Brock Bowers. I think he's going to be a really great player. But part of the problem here is that, a year to another year, we've seen this with a lot of these teams. It just depends. I didn't load it up. It just depends on what kind of health you get. Well, Brock Bowers, great first year. Nobody could cover him. All these idiots are making him the best tight end in the league. Can we slow down for a minute on rookies? Jaden Daniels is really good. Slow down. C.J. Stroud was put into the top 5 quarterbacks, and then he had a downfall his second year. I like Brock Bowers. He's not George Kittle. He's not the best tight end in the league right now. He's not even McBride the kid, Trey McBride the kid with the Cardinals. Give the kid a year, and then teams are going to adjust to him and all those kind of things. But he's banged up a little bit. And so now you're taking on Kansas City this weekend, and you've got one team that's got, of course, Rashee Rice coming back, and you got another team in the Raiders that probably are going to be missing Brock Bowers not only now, but for the next couple of weeks. Here's Pete Carroll in Vegas talking about his second-year tight end.
Yeah, but we're looking after him. There's a big bye coming up and all that kind of stuff. The next week, a couple weeks you get, before you have to come back. So I can't tell you. I'm optimistic always, but that doesn't mean we're getting him back. So you look the long haul of it. It might be best, to just guarantee that he's full speed and back. So we'll see how we handle that.
He just told you how he's going to handle it. If you've got some sort of a fantasy football league team, you're probably in a little bit of trouble right now because Brock Bowers was probably taken early, maybe the first tight end. He might be the best receiving tight end, but he's not the most complete tight end, as I just said. But we're going into week 7. So Brock Bowers is going to be out this week. He's probably going to be out next week, and then he would return after that. And the thing is, too, even though they'll never say it because teams are in the practice of letting things just go away, and who knows, you don't just give away seasons, especially at this point. We're a third of the way through the season, through 6 weeks. But they know that they're really going nowhere, and long-term Brock Bowers is going to be in their plans, obviously. And why would you risk the guy getting injured? So the Raiders aren't going anywhere. Denver's a sleeper team, like I told you, in the AFC. Kansas City's starting to fulfill the promise they have every single year. The Chargers are 4-2. The Raiders aren't going anywhere, and he knows it. So why am I going to throw Brock Bowers out there when this isn't our year? Geno Smith hasn't worked out defensively. It seems like forever the Raiders are trying to get things going. They're not going to put Brock Bowers in harm's way. And you got the Chiefs coming up against the Raiders this weekend. Probably the best line of the day as we go through the 3 stories today. Cam Hayward in the distance. Now, Thursday night, Steelers and their 41-year-old quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and the Bengals, much to the chagrin of Mike Tomlin, their 40-year-old quarterback, Joe Flacco, oldest quarterback tandem in the league. And here is Aaron Rodgers, but it's the beginning of this that's funny. It's Cam Hayward, who's older himself, calling it the Icy Hot Bowl. Take a watch, take a listen.
Oldest quarterbacks playing this week. Let's go. Woo! Icy Hot Bowl. I love it.
All right, we'll open it up for questions here from the media.
Aaron, what do you think about maybe the novelty of 2 40-year-old quarterbacks going against each other, 40-plus quarterbacks?
Thank you. There we go. Get that right there. Yep. Come on, Bert. You got it. There we go. The novelty? Yeah, I think it's great. Great for all the old guys, you know. I know that when I watch other sports, maybe it's because I'm the older guy, but I tend to pull for the older guys to win championships. I've been friends with Steph for a long time. Steph is one of the older guys in the NBA now. So anytime the Warriors are playing, I'm always pulling for Steph to ball out for them to win. But it's great. I mean, I've known Joe for a long time. He's been great coming to my charity event. He's been a great ambassador for the league. He's had a great career, and it's fun that we're both still playing.
All right, Thursday night, you got the Icy Hot Bowl, and he tried not to laugh, Aaron Rodgers, because he doesn't want to show any emotion in front of the media, but he had to. Cam Hayward with the Icy Hot Bowl. That's going to be said about 1,000 times on Thursday night. Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers. And finally, I've been talking about all the young quarterbacks just a ton, because especially from the 2024 class, because fairly enamored with that whole thing. And you look at it, of course, and it was Caleb Williams. We're going to get into the Monday Night Football reactions in a minute. And it was Jaden Daniels, who he opposed last night. And it was Drake May, who's getting a lot of love right now, and quite a few other ones. Albert Breer put this out today, and because just when young quarterbacks come into the league, especially that are drafted highly, they're going to bad teams, and those teams don't tend to turn things around this quickly. So these guys are all in their second year in the league. And as Burr points out, random fact of the day, all 6 teams that drafted quarterbacks in the first round in 2024 are 500 or better. I don't know that you're ever going to see that again. The Bears, of course, Caleb Williams. Bo Nix has been very, very solid. Got off to a little bit of a slow start this year. But with that defense, I'm sure Sean Payton has just told him, dude, just don't turn it over. Just don't put our defense in a bad position. Just be cool. It's fine. We'll play defense. We'll run the ball. You'll make plays. Just don't turn it over and be stupid. It's a nice way to be able to play football. Jaden Daniels, I told you, and I said this last night, we'll get into it more in the Monday Night Football reactions in a minute. I thought the Commanders would be down a little bit because teams would be ready to play them. And usually that first year, you surprise some people. You're not surprising anybody anymore if you're the Commanders. And honestly, last night, he didn't play a very good game. He was solid. But that fumble at the end, that was not on the running back. That was on him, and that cost the Commanders the football game. So you can do a lot of great things, and Jaden Daniels did last night, but when you fumble to lose the game, that definitely puts a scar on everything. Michael Penix may be the surprise. Remember, he was taken 7th overall by the Falcons in that draft. I happen to know a lot of people within the Raiders, they wanted to pounce on that guy. They wouldn't have the Geno Smith problem they have today. They wanted Michael Penix. He never made it to them, and everyone's like, wait a minute, whoa. You just signed Kirk Cousins. But Penix is showing, especially Drake London last night, 10 for 158. Again, we'll get more into that in a minute. But Penix is showing he might be the real deal. Drake May, when we do You Bet a little bit later, Drake May is actually getting a lot of MVP love, and I got to give it up to the guy. Last couple of weeks, especially, you go into Buffalo and you win, but he was very good against New Orleans as well, and he's starting to really stack games together. And then the Vikings, 3-2. JJ McCarthy's been hurt. He was hurt all of last year. I'm not going to go out and say that JJ McCarthy is one thing or another, because all the talking head shows that continue to say that they know or they think they know something about JJ McCarthy, they don't. He didn't play last year. It was a questionable pick. There's no question about it, because when Michigan won that national championship, it's not like he wasn't a big part of it. They ran the ball. They played defense. He was a complimentary quarterback. And then, look, I think the guy can be a player. But before we throw these guys out and say they can't play, McCarthy's hardly had an opportunity, given last year being injured, this year mostly being injured. We just don't know what J.J. McCarthy is. Having said that, watching Sam Darnold in Seattle, as we speak, as of this moment, we can all change our mind, but as we speak, as of this moment, they made a mistake in letting Sam Darnold go. Sam Darnold's near the top of the charts as far as statistics are concerned, and even if you're not into analytics, and even if you're not into statistics, and even if you say that it's 6 games or it's Jackson Smith and Jigba or Clint Kubiak has helped his game, whatever the case may be, I saw him the year that he was a backup quarterback here with the 49ers, saw him play at USC. He was the 3rd overall pick. And the reason why he was is because he's got great physical traits. He just mentally, whether it was being in New York, he said he was seeing ghosts. He wasn't processing maybe as fast as he possibly could. And I think when he got with Kyle Shanahan, he simplified things. Then he went to a similar offense with Minnesota, and then he's with a similar offense now. Clint Kubiak teaches the same West Coast principles of a Kyle Shanahan offense. And so he's in the same system now for 3 years in a row, and all of a sudden it's starting to click with the guy, and they shouldn't have let Sam Darnold go. That's the bottom line, is that J.J. McCarthy, I get it that you took him in the first round. Darnold threw 35 touchdown passes, and because he played poorly in the playoffs, people kicked him out of Minnesota. Probably a mistake, but I'm not going to condemn J.J. McCarthy and say he's not a good quarterback yet. But I can look at the rest of those teams right there. Whether Caleb Williams is the best, I don't know. Bo Nix is good enough. Jaden McDaniels, I think, is going to get better. Michael Penix is showing a hell of a lot of promise. And Drake May, even though it's a small sample size, looks like out of those 3, he actually might be the best 1, 2, 3 in 2024. And J.J. McCarthy will have to wait and see. So I love talking about quarterbacks. Everybody loves talking about quarterbacks. But in 2024, could that be a historic class? I'm not going to call it the Elway class of 83, but it's a pretty damn good class so far. And the arrow is definitely pointing up for most of those guys, and we'll have to wait and see on J.J. McCarthy. So those are your 3 stories today, and I actually made it like 5. So there's number 1 on the list. Number 2 on the list, Monday Night Football reactions. Now, we got into it a lot yesterday, and if you missed us on Monday night, we always do a post-game show after Monday night. We also throw in a bunch of updates on the NFL. But a few things just to recap last night. The Falcons 24-14 over the Bills. We'll start with that one because it was the early one. And then we'll get into the Bears getting a gift from Jaden Daniels. And Jake Moody, big story. I hate talking about kickers because I know people are going to leave me. But he went 4 of 5, including the game-winning 38-yard field goal, was on the practice squad, had lots of problems with the 49ers mentally. I talked about it last night. Third-round guy. Takes him a lot, maybe to your second or third team. I don't know that he's going to be with Chicago long, because Santos is a short-term loss. He'll come back, but I think he gained himself another opportunity, maybe with another team, by that performance last night. And look, he's a third-round pick, and he's got the leg strength. He can kick the ball out of the end zone on kickoffs. It's just mentally he had issues with the 49ers, so he'll get more and more opportunities. Now, as far as the Falcons over the Bills, here's something to blow your mind and to tell your friends. The Atlanta Falcons right now, even though I think the Buccaneers are still going to win the NFC South, are number 1 in defense right now and number 2 in offense. Now, will they continue to do that? Look, I told you this last night, and it's true. We're no longer early. We're a third of the way into the season. That's not early anymore. 6 of the 18 weeks have been completed, and we are no longer early. So even though I heard Tom Brady say this today, you don't know what you are until maybe Thanksgiving. I understand that. I get that. There's going to be injuries. You're playing some bad teams. The meteor schedule's coming up. The Falcons, for example, go to San Francisco, go to Santa Clara this weekend to take on the 49ers. And I know the 49ers are hurt, but it's still not going to be an easy game for Atlanta. And the 49ers are favored in that game. So we'll see what they are. But given Penix's arrow, as I said, is up, given the fact that Bijan Robinson last night had 238 yards, including 170 and an 81-yarder on the ground. He's the best running back in the game. Drake London caught 10 for 158. He is starting to come into his own. Maybe it's some offensive guys that they need. They got a solid offensive line, or they got some injuries there. But defensively, that was always the thing. But Raheem Morris is a defensive mind. So you hire a Raheem Morris. Defensively, you're going to get a defense. Do you have enough offense? Atlanta hasn't had a defense in a while. If they continue to do these type of things, I don't think they have the talent to be the number one defense in the league. And I still, like I said, think that Tampa's going to win the division. But with Bijan Robinson, Penix showing his thing, a good offensive line, Drake London, and they do have talent on the defensive side of the ball, Atlanta might be a team to be reckoned with. Now, the team that they beat, and now I have to question the Buffalo Bills, are they good enough? They got off to a good start. They played some bad teams. You got to give them credit, though, winning in the NFL, whether it's a bad team, whether it's home, whether it's road, whether it's early, whether it's Thursday, whether it's Monday, whether it's Sunday night, Sunday day. It's not easy to get wins in this league, but we may have all overestimated the Buffalo Bills because they're not getting a good enough pass rush. Josh Allen can only do so much. They have good, not great receiving weapons, although I do really like their tight ends. I do like James Cook, but they leave something to be desired, and something could happen at the trade deadline for Buffalo because how much longer can you rely on Josh Allen to carry the team? So you got to start questioning Buffalo after 2 straight losses. In terms of the Bears and the Commanders, I don't know what to make of the Bears. I like Ben Johnson. I think it usually takes a minute or a season to get an offensive coordinator and his weapons all on the same page. But you do have to say this about the Bears. They went out and they got Ben Johnson, the hottest offensive coordinator in the cycle in 2024. They've gotten him weapons. They took Rome Odunze. They got more. They've got 2 tight ends that are completely capable. They rebuilt their offensive line. DeAndre Swift was great last night. So they've got a package of offensive weapons and an offensive line that should be able to be good enough for Caleb Williams. He still, though, to me, doesn't stay in the pocket enough, gets outside, is not patient enough. And I get it. He's got a little bit of the jitters back there. He got hit a lot last year. I understand that. But it was the same way at USC. He would out-athlete the other team. He would kind of Patrick Mahomes it, but there's only one Patrick Mahomes. He can make plays and he can make throws from all angles, but I do question whether Caleb Williams long-term is going to be at the top of that class. I think it might be Drake May. He's good enough. I know that, but he likes to get out of the pocket. He likes to make those circus plays. He likes to play the backyard game, and sometimes it works and sometimes he doesn't. And then I said this again last night, and some Bears fans got on me. I just don't know about the leadership qualities. And I don't care. Like a linebacker, a D lineman, a DB, a receiver, a tight end, an O lineman, they don't have to have those abilities, but a quarterback does. And he just seems to have a weird vibe about him. I don't know. It's Jay Cutler-ish to me, speaking of the Bears. But we'll see. Maybe I'm 100% wrong on that. So we'll see on the Bears. Although when I get to You Bet a little bit later, I do have a little bit on the Bears that I'll discuss a little bit more. As far as the Commanders, I've said this again and again. I thought they were ripe for a team that was going to have a downfall. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win 4 or 5 games. They're already 3-3. But I'm talking about maybe 8-9, 7-10, something like that. They're just missing something. And Jaden Daniels, I'm not saying that he's going the CJ Stroud route, but we always anoint these guys off their rookie year. I mean, I saw Jaden Daniels ranked as high as 5 in the quarterback rankings before the season starts. And you know me, if you watch the game or watch the show with any regularity, I'm not really a Mount Rushmore guy or a list guy or anything. I have fun with them and I keep them in their proper perspective. But there's no way that a rookie quarterback that hasn't had the defenses then adjust, because what happens in the league is the teams within your division first. So Dallas, Philadelphia, the Giants, they go, okay, to beat that team in our division, we've got to start adjusting to that young player. And then that young player has to adjust back. It's better to think of it as like in the Major League Baseball sense. Hitter comes up, he's red hot, teams start to adjust, then he's got to, and it's a constant game of adjustment. Once you get to a certain point where you're just so good that they've done all the adjusting they can, you get older and older and you understand your own offense and what defenses are trying to do to you. I like Jaden Daniels. Stayed in college a long time, both at Arizona State and LSU, tons of starts. I think that matters. We're seeing that with guys like Bo Nix. Getting a lot of starts under your belt and then coming into the NFL gives you a great advantage. But he's so young that it's still, I mean, in terms of the NFL level, the teams are still throwing things at him. They use the offseason, especially the teams in the division, to say, okay, these are the things he doesn't do well. We're going to have to see if he can adjust back. And he's in that adjust back place. Now, was he good last night outside of the fumble? Absolutely. But there's just something kind of missing this year. And what part of it is, you're not going to sneak up on teams. The Commanders stunk and they stunk and they stunk and they stunk for years. And teams didn't take them seriously until it was maybe too late. Now, this year, that doesn't happen. Every team that you play, you have a target on your back. Oh, Washington, the team that was really good last year, made the playoffs, won double-digit games. You're not going to sneak up on anybody. Everybody is prepared for you, and Washington's got to adjust to that. Again, we're only 6 weeks into the season, and I'm not saying that they're not going to be a good team or a playoff team, but they've got to adjust their mentality and take a step upward. So that is your Monday Night Football reactions. Would love to get yours right underneath here. Again, Atlanta over the Buffalo Bills, and the Commanders lose because of a fumble. Jaden Daniels couldn't get in the running back's hands, and Jake Moody, fresh off the practice squad, hit 4 or 5 field goals. The Bears win 25-24. That's your Monday Night Football reactions. All right, we do this every single Tuesday. Hot Seat Tuesday. Who's in the hot seat as far as the coaches are concerned? And by the way, not that I'll take credit for this, but the number 2 hot seat person a week ago was Brian Callahan. He gets fired by the Tennessee Titans this week. Number 1 on the list still exists. I can't believe that Mike McDaniel has a job, but he does. It gets worse and worse and worse, and I don't care what kind of pants he wears, whatever those things are. Capri pants, whatever, man. You do you. It's not the reason he's getting fired, but the quirkiness, the weirdness, all those things when he was winning is kind of tired. Tua Tagovailoa did not do him any favors by essentially saying, even though these were player meetings that he talked about after Sunday's loss to the Chargers, it just shows that there's a lack of leadership with Mike McDaniel. So he's still on a red-hot seat. I can't believe that he's going to continue to survive that. Kevin Stefanski is the next one on the list. I've got him at 4.5 hots, and this is not entirely his fault. I know that maybe he's part of the decision-making process in terms of taking those quarterbacks, but Dillon Gabriel, as of right now, and again, you got to let the guy develop, but it's hard when you're on the hot seat like Stefanski is, and he's the offensive coordinator and play caller of this team, and he's got a guy that's Charlie Checkdown. I'm not blaming the guy. It's just that's what Dillon Gabriel is. Shedeur Sanders is the most overblown story in all of the NFL. I hope he gets his chance so we can quiet it down. He's not going to be ready as well. And if the Browns, who look again like they are headed to the top 3 or 5 in the NFL draft, they'll probably take a quarterback again. So they're completely a mess, and I can't believe Kevin Stefanski is going to last much longer. I know Aaron Glenn, number 3 on the list, it's just the postgame and how poorly they played against the Jets. Do I expect them to be fired anytime soon? No. They're 0-6. But I will say this, first-year coaches get fired all the time. It happened in New England last year, remember, before Pete Carroll, Jim Mora. I mean, look, it's a microwave society that we live in, and nobody has patience. Owners don't have patience. Fans don't have patience. There's social media. And even though these owners act like they don't, or general managers don't pay attention to the fans and the squawking and the social media, they do. They hate the pressure that goes along with it. And when Aaron Glenn had that press conference and said it was a stupid question to ask about Justin Fields after they just were turned in the 4th worst passing performance of all time with a -10 net yards, it was a completely legitimate question to ask. And Aaron Glenn might already be losing the locker room after an 0-6 start. So is he going to get fired today or tomorrow? Probably not. But if Aaron Glenn continues this, and they're at Carolina this weekend, so maybe they could get their first win, even though Carolina's 3-3. I don't think the Jets are an 0 for team, but Aaron Glenn needs a win or his seat is going to get higher. I know that Brian Dable won a game last week for the Giants. It was a high-profile game, and Cam Scatterbu and Jackson Dart, and everyone was buzzing, and they beat the Eagles. That's fine. But as we saw in this list a week ago, Brian Callahan won a game against the Cardinals. All it did was buy him an extra week. If Brian Dable continues to fall flat on their face, and the Giants do, Dable's going to be out in New York. And just for fun, I put Bill Belichick and his lovely girlfriend there. 3 hots. I don't think he's leaving North Carolina now, but I think at the end of the season, this will be a one-and-done situation for Bill Belichick, and he's not going to go back into coaching. He's much better with a mic in his hand nowadays, and I think that Belichick will go back to that. He made a ton of money. He did about every show under the sun, from Inside the NFL to Pat McAfee to a podcast, all those kind of things. I think he is much better as an analyst now, as a TV guy, as a microphone guy, as a behind-the-microphone guy. And I think he just underestimated what college football was all about. So there is Bill Belichick, 3 hots and number 5 on the hot seat. We could see McDaniel and Stefanski, if they lose badly this week, be off this list, and then I'm going to have to come up with 2 more to fill out the 5. So there's your 5 on the hot seat this week, and that is your third story of the day. Give me your thoughts on that as well. Who should be on the hot seat? Who did I miss? Am I wrong in the hots? Give me your thoughts. Belichick, all those kind of things we can discuss. All right, let's get to number 4 on the list tonight. Deadline is 3 weeks away on the PFB Wire nightly recap show of the NFL. And even though we're going to get more into the league itself, since we have 3 weeks, we're going to kind of have to stretch this out as far as the deadline is concerned. And we'll go over more of the teams. And last week I did a top 5 list of guys who are likely on the move. And I'm sure I'll do that at some point this week. But you know what? I think that there is a perfect match between the San Francisco 49ers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I don't know how aggressive the 49ers are going to get, but I do know this. Having covered the team for a number of years, John Lynch is aggressive. Kyle Shanahan is aggressive. They still believe, you may not, but they still believe that they're in a Super Bowl window. They are 4-2, but they have 2 major injuries. Now, they have other ones other than that, but offensively, Brock Purdy's going to come back. George Kittle may come back as early as this week. Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Shanahan said this week, maybe as soon as week 10. So offensively, they've still got Christian McCaffrey. Their offensive line has not performed up to its standards. Right tackle Colt McKivit's got an extension. He hasn't been good. The guards haven't been good. And even Trent Williams isn't his normal self. So I don't know if the 49ers can get back up to the level that they need to be among the elite in the NFC. The Lions, the Eagles, the Packers, the Buccaneers. I don't think they're on that level. Having said that, it's not me or you that need to believe it. It's the 49ers. And if I were them, I'd call the Cincinnati Bengals, because you might be able to get all your shopping done, all your Christmas shopping done, all your Black Friday shopping done in one fell swoop in Cincinnati. Trey Hendrickson's a guy that they've talked about and may make an offer for, but that's just when they needed Nick Bosa. Now they need a linebacker too. Fred Warner's out. Well, a guy who's been pretty solid, but just got benched by a guy that I really like, Barrett Carter, a rookie out of Clemson, who I've always liked. His stock kind of fell, but they took him in the 4th round, and he's had a really good year. Logan Wilson's 29 years old. He's on a fairly fat contract, not huge. But would the 49ers be so aggressive that they would bring in 29-year-old Logan Wilson, who's solid, and Trey Hendrickson? Now, Cincinnati's known to drive a hard bargain. That would probably be too rich for the Niners' blood, not because they couldn't absorb the salaries, because Hendrickson is up at the end of the year. Wilson's still got a couple of years on his contract, but Wilson's a really solid inside linebacker, and the Niners need one now. And, of course, Trey Hendrickson would take the place of Nick Bosa, at least for this season. Here's and by the way, you don't hear a lot of guys talk like this. This is Logan Wilson, a guy that you would want to add to your locker room. Carter takes his spot. He gets benched, and this is the way that he reacts to it.
Like on Wednesday of last week, we found out about this on Monday, and I put my arm around him. I told him, I said, there's going to be no hard feelings between us. Just know that, like, I'm not going to change who I am. I still want to help you out. I know I've played a lot of football, and there's things I can still pour into you. And I told myself I was not going to change who I am because of a time of adversity in my life. And, whenever my career's done, like, look back at this time of adversity and be able to tell my kids how to get through, how to work through adversity like this. And so that's what I'll be most proud of by the end of the day. I'm still going to work to continue to get better and just continue to support him as best as I can, because that's what a good teammate would do.
That's pretty impressive. Not a lot of guys would do that, but that's Logan Wilson, demoted linebacker of the Bengals. And like I said, could they get Logan Wilson, who's a solid linebacker, inside linebacker, off-ball linebacker, and Trey Hendrickson? Probably not. Could they do it with another team? Probably. But the Bengals are known to drive a hard bargain, and Trey Hendrickson's up at the end of the year. Logan Wilson is a decreased commodity to me because you just benched him. What would be fair? I mean, you're probably looking at a first-round pick, and this is an older team. The 49ers, remember, Trey Lance, they gave up those couple of first-round picks. They're in a position in which they've got they're a top-heavy football team paying veterans a lot of money. And some of the veterans like Bosa, like Warner, like Ayuk are not playing right now. So it's not really good to give away all those picks, because what those picks are supposed to do is not only are they supposed to perform well in the football field, but they're supposed to balance out your sheet your salary cap and be cheap labor, at least for the first, depending on their first round pick, of 3 or 4 years of their career. And the Niners are in a place in which they need to kind of balance out that sheet. And this top heaviness needs to they need to have some guys in the middle making some money as well. But Demo Lenore, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, obviously. These guys, Brandon Ayuk, they're making a ton of money, and the Niners want to keep their pick. So do I expect anything to happen as we're talking about the deadline 3 weeks away there on the board? Do I expect anything to happen? No. And we'll expand this, and we'll talk about the deadline up until the deadline for the next 3 weeks, and we'll specifically look at certain teams and certain guys. So if you've got a question, comment, or thought about your team and who you want me to talk about as far as the deadline is concerned, whether that be an ad, a certain player, a certain team, whatever the case may be, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that. But the 49ers at 4-2, locked with the Rams at 4-2 and the Seahawks at 4-2, I don't expect them to sit back and do nothing. If it was just the Bosa injury, I would think they'd be incredibly aggressive in even looking at Trey Hendrickson. But now it's like Hendrickson, oh, by the way, calling Cincinnati back, would you mind throwing Logan Wilson in there? Because they just don't have anybody to take Warner's place emotionally or on the football field, nor Bosa's. You could find a pass rusher. You can't find a Fred Warner. But if there's a guy that's demoted Logan Wilson, and I will say that I think Wilson is a easier target to get than in Hendrickson, clearly. So they might get Wilson from Cincinnati, and they might go try to find a pass rusher somewhere else. But now that he's demoted, after Fred Warner gets hurt, I would expect the 49ers to make a call about Logan Wilson. So again, deadline 3 weeks away. Let's talk about it. Hit me up under here. And every single night, I'll talk about a few different players and teams who we can talk about around the deadline. It's clear some of these teams, the Chargers looking at a running back, the Steelers always looking at a receiver. It seems like the Niners maybe were looking at receiver, but they've got to focus on the defensive side of the ball because of those injuries to Bosa and Warner. They're not going to make it through in the NFC West if they don't at least fill one of those positions. And right now, I'd be looking at Cincinnati because Logan Wilson, at 29 years old, making a decent amount of money now that he's been demoted, I don't think he's going to cost you a lot. I mean, conditional picks, pick swaps, those kind of things, that's what it might cost the 49ers. And then I could see them looking at a lesser pass rusher, not a Hendrickson, even though I think that would be the ultimate replacement, but I just think it's going to cost them too much in draft capital. And right now, as I talked about balancing their books right now with them being so top heavy and paying so many players so much money, especially players who are hurt, and they lead the NFL in dead cap money, do the 49ers. I don't think they're going to trade away high picks. Those picks are going to have to balance out the books at some point. So I expect them to be aggressive, but I don't expect them to be Hendrickson, although I do think that Logan Wilson could be a guy that they look at. Again, we'll talk deadline over the next couple of weeks until deadline day, and you can hit me up right here underneath the show at John Lund Radio, at PFB Wire on all social media if you got questions or comments, because people love talking about the deadline. All right, next on the list, MEL'S first board came out, that being Mel Kiper Jr. Now, maybe your team is in it, and the furthest thing from your mind is the draft. You're like, hey, man, I don't really want to talk about the draft, but come on, man. You love the draft. I love the draft. Everybody loves the draft. But here's something that's interesting. So he came out with his top guys. Dante Moore, quarterback, Oregon. Who'd have thought that at the beginning of the season? And quarterbacks always get pushed up. But remember, this was a guy that started a little bit at UCLA, wasn't really, really good. Decent size at 6'3", 206. The numbers jump off the page. But I'd be weary because why? Because Oregon quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota, not so much. Achilles Smith, not so much. Joey Harrington, not so much. Justin Herbert, okay, I'll give you that one clearly. Justin Herbert is very, very, very good. But my point is that it's a quarterback-friendly system. I really like the guy. But one of the things that Mel Kiper talks about right here at the bottom, Dylan Gabriel, of course, he says he only has 11 career starts to date, just developing, will be only 20 years old at draft time. You know who was 20 years old at draft time? Trey Lance. I am a big fan of guys who have started lots of games. Brock Purdy did. Bo Nix did. You've just got to get those guys who have a little bit more. I'd be very weary of Dante Moore. So Dante Moore was number one on his list. I wouldn't take any running back at number two. I like Mendoza of Indiana, the Cal transfer. My favorite player in the draft might be Arvell Reese from Ohio State. Speaking of the Niners, they could use him. Woods is okay. Lemon has taken his spot. I thought it was Jordan Tyson who would be the top receiver in this draft. I'm telling you, has a safety ever gone number one? I'm trying to think. Caleb Downs might be worthy of that. He's that good. The Alabama transfer goes to Ohio State, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. Whoever gets that guy, like I said, I don't think he's going to be a number one pick, but like a combination of like Kyle Hamilton. And I mean, you're getting a hell of a player. I think he's a top 5 talent. Jordan Tyson, I mentioned. A lot of people have said Bain Jr. Bain would be the top pick. Utah's got an amazing offensive line. They maybe have 2 guys from their offensive line that'll go into the top 20. There's another Ohio State wide receiver. What's new? There's your top tight end. I don't think he's going to be Sadiq is not going to be a Tyler Warren or a Brock Bowers type, but he's not bad. Simpson jumps in there. He's a name. So anyway, there you go. There's Kuiper's top 25. Bailey's really good, and Texas Tech is underrated. Sellers is going to go in the top 5 to me because he's just a freak. I don't know if he's worthy of going there, but he's just that good of an athlete. So somebody's not going to be able to resist that kind of a thing. And so there you go. There's MEL'S top 25. And I'm just doing a quick analysis of the whole thing. But again, the draft is the draft. We all love the draft. And Mel Kiper Jr.'s top 25 came out. I'm not going to do that every week that Mel has a new top 25 or the Daniel Jeremiah or any of these other guys that come out. It's just kind of a glorious day when Mel Kiper comes out with his first big board, which, by the way, because Dante Moore is number 1 on the big board, means he's not going to be there at the end because the first big board is always kind of a mess. So give me your thoughts. And I'd love to know this. How much do you want to talk about the draft? I mean, I'm looking at teams like, hey, if you're the Jets, if you're 1-5 Cleveland, if your team's like that, I mean, you're 6 games in, and unfortunately, all that September, we can do it. This could be our year. We're going to surprise people. Yeah, that's all gone, and you're already starting to look at the draft. I'm simply saying I love the draft. I watch way too much college football. I'm into it, and once the offseason hits and we start doing all that kind of stuff, hell, I might even find myself in Indianapolis. But I do love it. I'm not going to make a regular thing of it every single week to talk about it unless there's something new to talk about. But I do love the draft. All right, let's get to the green portion there. You bet, which we do. We do this whenever we need to, more than once a week, a couple times a week. But my website or app of choice is I'm trying to think, DraftKings, and I just put a few futures out for tonight. All right, I just randomly pick stuff, and as we get closer to the games on Friday, I'll always do a betting segment on Friday as well. But, during the week, we need to do one as well. So let me give you a couple of things. Now, what I do here is it's a black screen, and in white, I'll put the number just so you can follow along. And then I'll put a V, which means what that means is value. All right. That V, that scribbly V means value. So right now, Patrick Mahomes would be, let me get this up a little tighter for you. Patrick Mahomes would be number 1 after his Sunday performance, and everybody's starting to see the Chiefs, and they're getting Rashee Rice back, like I said. And so now Josh Allen was plus 155 last week to win the MVP. And this week, he is tied with Baker Mayfield at 2. So you can read, but I thought I would just make it easy on you. So Patrick Mahomes plus 175. Baker, who would be my choice at this point, is plus 300. Think of the injuries that he's had. I get it. Mahomes doesn't have the greatest of receivers and hasn't had Rashee Rice, but my God, Baker Mayfield just beat the 49ers, who are banged up themselves, but he didn't have his top 4 wide receivers. I'd give it to Baker, but I get why Mahomes is number 1. Josh Allen slipped a little bit. He's at plus 300. Now, where I put, and I'm interested that Drake May's at plus 1,600, as is Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff. But here's the thing where I'm looking at value, just the V word. Daniel Jones, now I don't know how long the Colts can keep this up, but Daniel Jones and the Colts are the number 1 seed in the AFC. And if for some reason we're 6 games into this thing, no longer early, as I tell you, that he could keep this up, that if you're just thinking about throwing a couple of shekels on some long shots, that's not too bad. That's good value right there, getting Daniel Jones at plus 4,500. Sam Darnold in Seattle, a lot of people are kind of buzzing around the Seahawks right now, and given that Mike McDonald is going to get that secondary back, what does that have to do with Sam Darnold? Because they could be a really good team if their defense comes around, and between he and Smith and Jigba, they absolutely have a big-time connection. They've got to be able to run the football a little bit better, but their offensive line is better than it's been in the past. So Sam Darnold at plus 5,500. And then there's Jalen Hurts sitting around there at plus 5,500. The Eagles are kind of scuffling a little bit right now, which led to the number being where it is. But if the Eagles do what they'll probably do, which is get on a heater before the end of the season, and Jalen Hurts is a big part of it, and Saquon Barkley so far isn't having the year that he had last year. Clearly, that's Bijan Robinson having that year now. And if A.J. Brown can kind of settle in a little bit, it wouldn't shock me if Jalen Hurts got near the top of that list. So 3 values: Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Sam Darnold. And right now, Mahomes is 1, and Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen are tied for 2nd. I would vote for Baker Mayfield. So that's number 1 on the list for You Bet. Let me give you number 2 on You Bet for the night. And again, 1 and V equals value. And these are this is your Super Bowl odds right here. And look at this. The Chiefs go from, oh my God, are the Chiefs done? They lost to Jacksonville. They're 2-3. And all of a sudden, Vegas says, no. I never jumped off the bandwagon of these guys. So they're tied with the Bills at plus 650 for the Super Bowl. Interesting to me. I wouldn't touch the Bills at this point. Kansas City at plus 650. That might be the best odds you get on them all season long. And then some value. The Eagles at plus 1,200. The Buccaneers at plus 1,500. I'd probably throw a few shekels. And again, I'm higher than most probably on the Seahawks, plus 2,800 if they can get that defense together. John Schneider, their general manager, is always aggressive as well. So if they are short something, which is if the secondary continues to be banged up, something along those lines, the offensive line could probably use an upgrade, especially at center. I don't know what John Schneider would do, but he's always aggressive, always willing to give up picks. So if Seattle is that good, I could see John Schneider making a big swing for Seattle. So value-wise, I see the Seahawks, the Buccaneers, the Eagles as value. And again, the Chiefs and the Bills are right now the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. And finally, number 3 on You Bet tonight, it's divisions. Now, it's not all the teams in the divisions, but here's what I'm intrigued by. First of all, if you look at the AFC North, Steelers are a runaway. Bengals aren't going to do anything. Browns aren't going to do anything. Even at 1-5, odds makers have the Ravens at plus 185, because the reason I opened this up tonight, I was thinking to myself, the Ravens are going to have these astronomical odds at 1-5, and I was going to call them a value pick, but not at plus 185. They clearly think that Lamar Jackson's going to come back and they'll make a run at the Steelers. Kind of interesting. One that I saw that I like, though, AFC South, the Titans at plus 550. The Jags, I think, are starting to slip. The Colts, I'm not completely sold on. The Titans, please. I could see the Texans. Now, they got a tough game coming up this weekend against the Seahawks, but plus 550, I'd keep an eye on the Texans as a dark horse in the South, as the Jags and the Colts have better records, but I'm not completely sold on either of those teams. And finally, even though I don't think this is going to happen, just a flyer. Again, I'm not saying to put your kid's college fund on this. Packers are very good. Lions are very good. Vikings, I'm still not sold on because of the quarterback situation, but just for the heck of it, plus 1,300 on odds for the Bears. They're 3-2. Could they get on a heater? I like Ben Johnson. I don't love Caleb Williams. I told you that. I think they could be aggressive at the deadline as well. They've got some good offensive weapons. Need to up that defense a little bit, but could the Bears somehow be a surprise in the NFC North? I think they might be able to be that. So look, I'm not saying to throw a bunch of money on the Bears, but if you got a spare 100 laying around, why the hell not? Probably not. That's the toughest division in football. The Packers are great. The Lions are great. The Vikings aren't bad. And the Bears showed that they're not too bad as well, as they are 3-2, and they might be on the upswing. So there you go. There's a few. I have absolutely positivity. If you bet against me, you've probably got a house to your name or something, because I'm not great with the bets, but I see some things that intrigue me. So a couple of times a week, we do You Bet early in the week, and then Friday. So those were futures with the Super Bowl, the MVP, and looking at a couple of divisions. I always like value. I don't like going with the favorites. I'm trying to make you a few bucks here. And everybody likes to do parlays and things like that, but I'm just trying to give you a few bucks here, a few tips, a few pointers. We'll see how they turn out. Those are the futures. Friday, we'll look at 5 games with the spreads, and we'll do another You Bet on Friday here on the show. Again, you love it, you hate it, hit it right here. Tell me what you think of the bets, or are there some that you like? Is there a future bet that you like? Is there a Super Bowl value? Is there a MVP value that I missed in there? Do you like Drake May, for example? Like, I was kind of surprised as I looked at that Drake May was as high as he is on that list. I mean, Drake May's plus 1,600. Those are pretty good odds. They've got him 4th. I think he's at his high point of the year, but you know what? I could be wrong. I didn't say he was a value guy. He could be. So there you go. All right, 3 stories today. Monday Night Football reactions, hot seat, deadline in 3 weeks, Mel's first board, and you bet. Before we give you what we're going to do tomorrow on the show, let me make sure that I've done everything today. Aaron Rodgers we did. Logan Wilson we did. Oh, let me play this. I haven't played this for you. I played Andy Reid on Rashee Rice, and I played Pete Carroll on Brock Bowers, who may not be back until after week 8. I wanted to play this for you, and it really didn't have a place on the board. And it's not that I don't like this rah-rah shit, but I just wonder, because I've talked to many players and done shows with players, pre and post games, talk shows, TV, radio, interviews, sideline reporting, all those kind of things. And I always wonder how much the rah-rah shit goes around, because you kind of look, especially at offensive linemen, they're like, hey, pretty boy, quit yelling at us, will you? We're in the trenches. We're bleeding our guts out here. Will you stop yelling at me? So anyway, this was on Inside the NFL, and I thought it was funny. I like Puka Nacua. He's a great player, 6th-round pick, all those different kind of things. But he was on the sidelines, and he was frustrated because, remember, Joshua Carty, who's kind of got the yips right now for the Rams, even though Sean McVay said he backs the guy. You only back him as far, you back him for a while, and then he's gone. I remember Kyle Shanahan saying the same thing about Jake Mooney, and at some point you just went, look, we couldn't handle it anymore. So Joshua Carty's got things going on in his head right now as a kicker, which you never want to see if you're a Rams fan, especially right now. But here's Puka Nacua saying, to hell with the kicker. We just got to put the ball in the end zone. And he goes on one of these rants on the sidelines. And I always wonder what players think of this.
Past the 30, we're scoring touchdowns. No more than field goal. We're running 2. We're putting the offense ball in our hands, and we're making plays, all right?
Come on.
We got it. I know we feel it.
Come on.
What the are we doing?
Come on.
Strain that extra second, bro. We're better than this. We're better than this. We get the ball inside. We want to spike that. We want to dance. Earn the right to dance. Go. Earn the right to dance. Come on.
Let me show you something right there. See Dotson right there, kind of looking at him right there. He's a big offensive lineman. There's a couple of big offensive linemen right here. Big offensive lineman, 68. They're kind of looking around. I saw Kyron Williams in there for a minute, but mainly these guys that are sitting down because they need to. The pretty boys up here, they don't need to be sitting around as much. It's these guys who are tired and sweaty and stinky and bleeding, and they're kind of looking at Puka Nacua like, bro. And so I think there's some confusion in that. And again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I do think there's some confusion because what happens in professional sports a lot of times is leadership gets confused with the rah-rah stuff. And there's guys on the sidelines and, certain guys yell, certain guys don't, all these kind of things. Russell Wilson's always running around doing all sorts of weird stuff, even if he's not playing. And I do wonder what certain guys think. Like, hey, bro, you just do your job. I'm doing my job. We know. And once you get out there, because I think this is overrated by fans, like the rah-rah stuff and the yelling and the locker room and the halftime adjustments and this, that, and the other, because reporters after a game when a team has a good second half, like, what'd you say in the locker room? It doesn't matter what guys say. It's a lot of coaches will tell you, like, it's just we executed better in the second half. We called better plays. We coached better. We played better. The other team made mistakes. I mean, whatever the case may be, there's not some magic elixir at halftime. I've heard Peyton Manning say it, that, you get something to drink, you sit down, you take a breath, you might look at a couple of clips, you go back out there. It's 15 minutes. You're not putting in a whole new game plan. I don't know if rah-rah stuff works. I mean, that's fine. Certain guys do it, certain guys don't. But I think that what fans sometimes will do is they'll say, well, he's not emotional enough, or he's not showing enough, or he doesn't care. Doesn't mean because you're not yelling or screaming that you don't care. And like I said, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, generally speaking, you're going to yell and scream at me, pretty boy. DBs do it, receivers do it, quarterbacks do it. And it's kind of like, hey, man, I'm in the trenches. I got this. Relax. Quit yelling at me, okay? Let's go out. Yeah, we're going to try to score points. Our kicker sucks. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting that Puka – and I wouldn't have thought Puka was that kind of guy, but he is. And again, it doesn't mean I have any less respect for him. It doesn't mean I don't think he's a great receiver. I do think he went to BYU and he had some F-bombs in there, so he may have to do some Hail Marys at some point, but there you go. So there's something that really didn't fit anywhere in the show, and I just wanted to throw that out there. So there you go, Puka screaming, and I wonder if it makes a difference. Probably not. All right, there you go. Wednesday's PFB Wire show. Do not miss it because PFB Wednesdays, that means it's the middle of the week, so we're past looking at last week's. We're not quite ahead to this week. So what we'll do is we always do the MVP ladder on Wednesdays. We will look at the trade deadline a little bit more because we always throw out. Last week we threw out the 5. In fact, I put Max Crosby up there. I'm trying to think who else. Trey Hendrickson was on my top 5 list. So we'll do not only the top 5 deadline, because it's 3 weeks away, but the top 5 trades. But we also look at who are the teams that are looking for those specific players. So tonight I looked at Cincinnati and San Francisco as kind of a fit. We'll look at the top 5 trade candidates and the teams that they fit. So we'll do that tomorrow. And we'll also get into MVP ladders. We'll discuss that. Plus, we'll start looking briefly at the weekend. And of course, there's always new stories every single day. So we'll have a new 3 stories and get you caught up on everything that is the NFL. Make sure that you're following us if you're watching tonight on YouTube on PFB Wire at PFB Wire. Thank you so much. Please consider subscribing to the show. Please make sure your alerts are on, because not only do we do the nightly shows, but we send out videos and fun stuff and breaking news and all sorts of things. And it is the trade deadline, so you can't miss anything. So at PFB Wire on YouTube, make sure those alerts are on. Please, if you would, hit us with the like before you get out of here as well, because that helps the algorithm grow the community. So we appreciate that as well. And make sure that you're following PFB Wire. That's Pro Football Wire at PFB Wire on all those fun things you see underneath me beyond YouTube. You've got X there, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those places. So make sure that you're following us at PFB Wire on all social media fronts. X, for example, we're always throwing out videos. We're always throwing out breaking news. We always put all sorts of stuff on X throughout the day. We put them on all the social media, but especially on X. Great place to get me. If you've got questions, comments, thoughts, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, right underneath here on the show, and the comments on the YouTube page would be absolutely great. Or hit me up at John Lund Radio on X, or at PFB Wire on X. And if you follow us and you're watching the show tonight on X, and as I look right now, there's quite a few people watching the show tonight on X at John Lund Radio, make sure that you give us a sub as well at PFB Wire. That's it for the nightly recap show for, what is today? Tuesday, October 14th. We will see you tomorrow on the show. And again, make sure those alerts are on. Make sure you're following us on all social media so that you can get all the latest breaking news from the NFL. Pro Football Wire at PFB Wire. All the teams, all the time.